Hello, my name is Kombazekos. I'm the president of ACES and welcome to video number 7. In today's video, I would like to read to you some excerpts from chapter 10 of the book Classical Education, The Movement Sweeping America, which has been written by Dr. Jean Edward Weiss and Andrew Kern. So here we go. Now the title of this chapter is called Myths and Realities of Classical Education. What classical schools do. The classical school is committed to a liberal or general curriculum. It is general in that its territory is all human knowledge, from the arts to the sciences, history to mathematics. The curriculum does not claim a narrow field of specialization or market niche for itself, nor does it permit students to evade issues they cannot understand or ways of thinking they cannot handle. Instead, it helps them confront sources of misunderstanding and develop their intellectual powers. The curriculum is liberal in that it is rooted in the 7 liberal arts: grammar, logic, rhetoric, arithmetic, geometry, astronomy, and music. There are 7. From the Latin liber, which means free, the liberal arts aim at freeing students for self-government and nurturing the growth of wisdom and virtue in them. The classical school explicitly or implicitly recognizes and applies the principles of the trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, key to the stages of the student's intellectual development and to the universal process of learning. It provides training in language and logic, and in writing and speech. The curriculum also understands the principles of the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, astronomy, and music, and insists that a good education encompasses abstract thought, aesthetic appreciation, empirical inquiry, and spatial relation. It applies these arts of learning to the sciences of the natural world and the social world and the realm of religious faith and meaning. Classical schools integrate all elements of the curriculum, and learning is unified and cumulative. Students are taught to recognize how areas of knowledge relate to one another, and how basic knowledge learned in earliest childhood is the foundation for more complex ways of knowing. Classical schools do not denigrate or ignore the past, neither are they nostalgic for it. Acknowledging the continuum of history, classical schools build on the great ideas, discoveries, and expressions of those who have gone before. They borrow pedagogical forms such as the trivium and often require or encourage study of Greek and Latin. The great ideas of the past are a starting point, not the last word, for the great conversation into which classical education exhorts students. Classical educator David Hicks endorses a poised and balanced understanding of this when he insists that, and I quote him, "The true knowledge of paideia requires a discerning appreciation for the past, unprejudiced by an assumption of progress or regress." End of quote. Classical schools cultivate a student's interest in first principles and ultimate purposes. They are not afraid to delve deeply into philosophy and religion, but encourage questions and answers about knowledge, faith, and meaning. Teachers in classical schools provoke students to ask about the purpose of education and are not satisfied with money and career as answers. Classical schools inculcate wisdom and virtue, 2 very important words, dear listeners. Wisdom and virtue. How often do we hear those words in Australia? Children yearn to become adults, and the classical education prepares them for adult responsibilities, for working and earning a living, raising a family, the privileges and duties of citizenship and friendship, and for courage in the face of solitude, illness, and death. Career counseling and technical training will count for little if our schools are unable to nurture the moral character of their students. Ironically, the desire for a well-paying job, which many parents and children consider education's only purpose, has failed to motivate many students to study hard and learn well. Classical schools educate for citizenship, my favorite word. Without an education in wisdom and virtue, citizens give way to alienation, apathy, and intemperance, and this leads to family and neighbourhood disintegration, crime, and political corruption. It's happening in Australia as we speak. Modernism and postmodernism can scarcely speak to such concerns with a straight face. Finally, dear listeners, classical schools are communities of learning. Because teachers and students share an idealistic and even visionary aim, their schools are humane, disciplined, and stimulating. Classical education is deeply personal. Teachers are coaches, midwives, and mentors of their students. Their classes are not organised around lectures and multiple choice tests. They are Socratic dialogues that provoke clear thinking and fresh insights. Classical schools make demands on students, but they also inspire them. Once again, thank you for listening. I hope that you found this video useful today about what exactly happens in classical schools, because it is important to know what they're all about. Once again, thank you, and in subsequent videos I will start looking at the pedagogies behind classical schools. Once again, thank you and God bless.